Let's move on to our first discussion now. The federal government is contemplating the replacement of fuel subsidy with a monthly 5,000 naira fuel grant to the nation's most vulnerable citizens. The gesture will span between 6 months and 1 year, even as the government contemplates ending fuel subsidy by mid-2022. According to the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, between 30 and 40 million poor Nigerians will benefit from this intervention. The minister said that the final number of beneficiaries will depend on the resources available after the removal of the fuel subsidy. This means that the federal government will spend between 1.8 trillion and 2.4 trillion naira on fuel grant in 1 year. The group managing director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation or Company, Mele Kyari, had disclosed earlier in the year that the federal government spends between 140 billion and 150 billion naira on premium motor spirit subsidy monthly. We have the publisher inside Watch Africa, Oluwaseyi Adeyemo, joining me now to help make sense of all of this. Sheyi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Always a pleasure to be
Great.
here.
Now, Nigerians are generally, from the so many engagements we've had, when it comes to sharing monies, to people who are said to be poor, vulnerable, Nigerians are very, very skeptical about this these days. I wonder what you make of this.
So, it's not because people just want to be skeptical. It's because of the antecedent and the history that we've had. We had a situation where each time people are meant to get certain things, particularly from the central government, you discover that a lot of intrigues and all of that goes on. But one would believe that this particular case, because of how much it affects all of us, government will be ready. My only worry is, do we have the statistics? Do we have the numbers in place? Are we able to identify Nigerians? Are we sure that the national identity, the
management
thing
commission
is able to leverage on the statistics they've sort of gathered over the years and be able to clearly identify the actual people? Because truth be told, the case of subsidy in Nigeria is something we've discussed over and over and over again. And so if government is finally taking a decisive decision, one can hope and pray that at the end of the day it will be managed well, and at the, we'll be able to get out of this quagmire, because it's truly a quagmire. We've gone around it, all sort of things have happened, strikes, fight, almost bringing down government and all of that. And at the end of the day, we all always come back to the fact that we truly need to remove subsidy. So if government is trying to take a decision and go, we can only hope and pray that this will work.
The last maybe 10 years or more than that has seen a back and forth. Should we remove? Should we not remove? Okay, no, we'll remove. Okay, put it back. And stuff like that. What is really the big deal or the big challenge in removing this fuel subsidy that a lot of people say that it is not the way to go for Nigerians?
It's clearly not the way to go, because at the end of the day, how can you be borrowing to do several things, and at the end of the day you then borrow money only to give it back? And it's been established that it is those who are in the high echelon of the network that benefits from it, because the importers and the rest of them, it's not the ordinary man on the road. But yes, the reason why government have been very, very reluctant is because the PMS is something that affects you and I. We need vehicles to move us around, and so we
have generators. Everybody has a generator,
and so the average Nigerian will be affected. But the question or the arguments have always been, can we communicate this properly to Nigerians for them to fully understand how much they will be benefiting, at the end of the day, if the subsidy is removed? Because all we need is information. And I think as a people or as government, over the years, we've not done well in communicating, properly articulating the advantages and the disadvantages that will accrue, to people if this subsidy is removed. So I guess it's a function of communication management, and sincerity on the part of government. If the people are able to see of the truth that government is truly sincere in what they want to do, they would support it. Because the thing is, in the short, medium, and long run, it will be beneficial to the people. And essentially, that is the primary duty of government, to do everything within their power to, for the people to be comfortable and their lifestyle and, living standard is improved. So if removing subsidy would eventually achieve that, and it's been proven, this has been discussed severally by several people. Some people have even been called several names because of it. It has been proven. So what is left is the communication, so that people will truly buy into it, and everybody on the road will own the fact that we truly need to remove the subsidy, and everybody can then live a better life.
But despite this knowledge of the fact that fuel subsidy is not the best way to go, the organized labor, they're still insisting that subsidies cannot be removed at this time.
That's what I'm saying.
They keep saying that we can't remove fuel subsidy because...
You see, the thing is, you give room for other people to talk. Even in a family, when you do not properly put the words out, if daddy, who is the head of the house, keeps hiding things, there will be reason for insinuation, for suspicion, and then you would then have people in the house like mommy who could want, because of what she wants to gain out of the arrangement, then sell the wrong communication out. So it's important that anytime there's a need to do things, look, organized labor is supposedly working for the people, and I believe that they will not just go out there for the sake of going out there. Now, so if government and organized labor are on the same page, for instance, I know a lot of committees that have been set over the years, they are usually on board. So for them to come out and still talk, it means they've seen certain things in the arrangement or agreement that was made that is not being followed through. That is why they always come out. And that's why I say, look, when you're sincere and you are forthcoming and you manage communication properly, there will be no room, there will be nothing to say. Because at the end of the day, the reason why they're able to say things or go out there is because there's something to say. It means something is there that somebody is hiding. That is why they feel that they needed to, or they need to play their role by saying, guys, there's a foul play here, please check this out, and all of that. So it goes back to government. Government is for the people. If the government is truly sincere in the way they are managing all the things they want to do and in the way they communicate to the people, organized labor will not have anything to say, because there will be no reason to want to stand in the way, if truly this is for the betterment and the good of everyone.
Now, let's talk about the issue of sharing monies. We've seen at different times where in fact, especially for the Abacha loot, that was, the refunded Abacha loot, which was shared to vulnerable people. And a lot of people are saying, okay, now let us assess those who got that money. They've eaten it and it's gone, but they're still where they are. So the idea of sharing monies to people instead of using that like 1.8 trillion or 2.4 trillion as the case may be, investing it for proper social or economic development. What do you make of this, though?
So you see, all of these things are tied together, and I think it is a very auspicious opportunity for government to know the people. Because you need to know them for security, you need to know them for development, you need to know them for things like this. You need to know them for election, voting, exercise, and all of that. This is another opportunity for government to properly put structure in place to identify its people. Because if you don't know them, you cannot serve them. You cannot be able to give them what you want to give them. So if this gives us another opportunity to properly check our data, our statistics, our numbers, whatever we've done in the past, to say, okay, Mr. A stays in so-so place, Mr. B stays in so-so place, so we know that that person is a thief or that person is fraudulent. Because how come Mr. Adeyemo, who we know is a journalist, a public analyst, all of a sudden now owns a house in Lekki? He must be able to explain it. All of these things tie into themselves. So if, for instance, Mr. Adeyemo, who we know earns a particular amount of money because over time we've done a sort of check on him, he cannot come forward and say he needs 5,000 naira, because then he'll be out of place. So local government authorities, all of these structures that are there, we have them. What we need to do is to put them in test. And like I said, if we're able to take this opportunity, then we'll have solved a lot of problems for Nigeria in terms of security, in terms of knowing who is voting, how much, because then when you say you have a number in a particular local government area or ward, you'll be able to say, no, it can't happen because this is the actual number in that area. And we know for a fact that these are the numbers of people who stay in that area. So for me, again, it's another opportunity for government, for the managers of this economy to take advantage of this and strengthening, check, put to test all the structures of identifying their people, because you cannot, whatever we've been doing, we are just playing around until we're able to have a fair idea. And I say fair, my fair is like 80% of our people. Then we can say, okay, that thing is due to that person. And you see, we've all seen it. If it is about me eating more, then you discover that most of the time, like we saw in the NSAS thing, you would allow them waste. Because you can only eat what you can eat. You can't eat more than what you can eat. So I think those are the other things we need to start to let our people know. When you keep saving and keeping, you become a madman. You come into your house and you see a lot of rags, things that have come. I've had stories in Nigeria where people keep money in the house and the money starts to rot in the house. So why are you keeping it? Give it to those who ought to. There is no way you will manage this,
or even better still, put it in the bank, so that put it in the system, and it helps to regenerate and
the point
something.
Is give it to them. You understand? I mean, why hold on to it? Because you see, as long as you're advantage or influential, you would always have the opportunity to get more. So why are you stealing funny things that at the end of the day makes you look bad? At the end of the day, puts a stall in the system, because this thing is systemic. If you don't do it now, there's going to be a cloth. It's even in our body, so if the blood is meant to run and the blood stops to run, you have a boil. You have something, there's a development, and you have to go to doctor because you have stopped the flow. So these things is like that. If you stop the flow, you think you're having something, you're not having anything. At the end of the day, you start having, so you go to gym because you're overeating, and you have to let those things out. So I keep wondering why we don't really think through some of these things, and we're just collecting, saving up for who, for what, when we can die tomorrow morning, and at the end of the day we'll leave this behind. So let us put our system to test, let us put the population to test, let us ensure that we identify our people, because not just for subsidy, for security, for economic development, for everything that we want to do, for election and all of we need.
The issue of identifying who is a poor or vulnerable Nigerian is still there. That debate is still really there. How do we determine who in this case? Because if we're looking for those who are vulnerable and very poor, of course we have them more than 40 million that is being quoted, from the statistics that we get. If Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world, like they say. So how do we begin to identify who is eligible for this, and how do we get to this person, and there are two poor persons, one will get, the other doesn't get? How do we
For instance, like I said, it's a very, very auspicious opportunity, because so you want to give something, so they will come. And the reason why they normally run away is because each time you're asking for their numbers, you want to tax them, you want to collect something from them. But this is an opportunity, because you say, oh, the reason why we're asking for this number is if you are able to convince us that this is, you fall into this bracket, you get this, everybody will come forward because you're getting something. And so that's why I'm saying that we should take advantage of this very, very, very rare opportunity, because government have decided that they want to give out. So if you say in a community, for instance, everybody that falls into this bracket, we know ourselves. You understand? Let's us try to at least take advantage of this and be sincere to ourselves and see how much of data you will have collected and could be used for several things after this time. But because we have decided that we want to give, it is a very good incentive to draw people to come, because it's about setting up things. You know, you want to register for NEPA, meter, and whatever they call them now, the meter you want, you know, you say to people, come to this area. Recently, we wanted to do knee. We set up small, you know, shops all over the place. People go there. Look, as long as there's an incentive, you know, there's a catch that is strong around it, you would be shocked. I'm not saying we're going to get an 100%, but you're going to get good numbers because there's a catch around it, and that in itself would draw people to voluntarily, you know, give information that we need, that we dearly need. Because I keep hammering on this. This is not just for now. This is something that we have always needed. And it is a very good opportunity that we should leverage on, so that at the end of the day, we then can get a and I think we've done a great job, because we've done a lot of things. In my estimate, we've done voters registration, we've done national identity card, we've done all of this. So all of those things can be aggregated and can be leveraged. We can draw from all of those, and I'm sure we'll be able to get some good money.
All right, you talked about the communication strategy earlier on as to government should improve in that regard, so that people can really, you know, have a buy-in into this. Now, if that strategy has to be, you know, has to meet its ideals, what steps should be taken and how should they be achieved?
Okay, fine. I mean, we're going to use orthodox and unorthodox means. First is you will then use the natural. Everybody knows, okay, so you need to go on TV, radio, and all of that. But then you need to also look at community arrangement. Like I said, it's also an opportunity for government to string and connect that line. Okay, so federal government, state government, local government, wards, and all of that. Let people come together. Let's have communal arrangement, because we have an agenda that we want to do. And let's be clear that if we truly take advantage of this, like we had before, look, we had town halls, we had village, we had town criers, and for people who had such arrangement, for us to completely have lost it, sometimes I wonder, because I mean, from the story we had, and we grew up into some of those things, at least even in Lagos here, where you have somebody going around
with a gong,
you know, with gong, and saying, oh, so thing is going to happen, we are going to meet at so place, and people would, and for us to have completely discard of all of those things and not leverage or develop those things, I think we've really not done well at all. So another advantage for us to go back and retrace ourselves and take advantage of, because all of those things will count. You're not going to maybe get to certain people through radio or TV or newspaper. Certain people you need to go to, you know, their wards, to their local areas,
engage them on one-on-one,
because we need at least 90% of Nigerians to buy into this, because at the end of the day, if they truly buy into it, it's a force of demand and supply. The money, the price will naturally come down at a particular time, because look, at the end of the day, when you know that you don't necessarily have to go out 5 times a week because it's as expensive. Fuel is more expensive in Ghana, and people go around. People are able to come to terms with that. Look, we cannot do this. I probably need a smaller car. Discover that you have a lot of smaller cars in Ghana than we have here. So the reason why we do some of the things we do is because of lack of knowledge. So if we truly educate ourselves, manage communication properly, you'll be shocked at the kind of turnaround and what we'll achieve in the short, medium, and long run, you know, for Nigeria and for the good of everyone.
It's amazing. Thank you so much. Oluwaseyi Adeyemo, publisher, Inside Watch Africa. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.